everyone, I'm Rita Kakati-Shah, your host for the Uma Show. Welcome to your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We are a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring empowerment journeys in fashion, and I'm so excited to be joined by a goddess of go-getting, Babi Ahluwalia, who is the co-founder and creative director of the luxury fashion house Sachin and Babi, as well as the co-founder of the Good Cloth Company in New York City. Welcome, Babi.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's so lovely to see you again.
Likewise.
So you're from New Delhi originally. You grew to have a love for fashion. Tell us about your upbringing and how you got into the world of fashion in the first place.
In a nutshell, I'm an army brat. My mom was a kids' wear designer in New Delhi when Dad was posted to New Delhi when I was in grade 4 onwards. And she had a beautiful boutique, and she came up from ground up, and she had a beautiful boutiques of beautiful frocks, and so design and style and the curiosity of fabrics was always in our DNA. So kind of grew up with a sensibility of entrepreneurship, of creative spirit, and then went on to kind of study at the Lady Shri Ram College, and then arrived at FIT through applying at Sophia's in Bombay, and then deciding, oh, maybe I should go to New York later, because the family was like, all right, older one finished. And then so it was really something that was always around us. It was a tactile material, so I could connect to it. I liked beautiful, luxurious things as a kid, the texture and feel of something glorious and fabulous. So it kind of, it germinated from when I was little,
So I love that. Yeah, and I love that. And you actually also mentioned that from there stemmed your love and passion for it. So you studied at the Fashion Institute of Technology, FIT, where you actually met Sachin. Tell us about your love story and how that led to the beginning of the company.
It's the funniest story ever, really, because I arrived in the fall of '94 to study textile development and marketing. And Sachin arrived from Mumbai to study fashion design. And, as international kids, there were kids from Singapore, from Hong Kong, you kind of bond together because you're learning the lays of the land, and you're finding out which is the safe part of the city to go to. Now, this, mind you, is New York City in the '90s. So we just became dear friends, and we kind of were cut for the similar fabric, I want to say. I know it sounds kind of so, you can't, because his mom is a creative spirit as well. She had at that point had a very successful women's wear line in India, and his father was an engineer at Philips. So again, similar background, similar a point of view at home. So when we started talking, our conversations were aligned. We were talking about pretty much the same thing, about how we want to kind of, we were very lucky that we could have gotten back to India and probably build our family businesses and taken it further. But because, we were young kids, and to me, any young spirited entrepreneurial head wants to land in America, because this is the land of the free, where you can actually learn so many different things, where you aren't burdened with, the way things were. So we just became dearest friends, lovers, started off this lovely idea of, okay, right after school, we'll do this, that, the other. So it was really very natural, and it really started from there.
I love it, because it's always things that flow naturally, that you don't plan, that kind of ends up happening, and just, life turns out that way, I guess, so I love that. So
and
together,
not too much planning, you've got to kind of go with your gut in a way,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's the beauty of it. Absolutely. So together you actually design and built an embroidery business together, working for top houses, including Oscar de la Renta, Carolina Herrera, Jean-Paul Gaultier, and Manolo Blahnik. That must have been amazing. In a way, you were one of fashion's best kept secrets behind the scenes until you set out on your own. Tell us about that journey.
It was very interesting, because at that point, we wanted to be a design service business where we could collaborate with the finest of the finest, who we thought were the finest of the finest, and kind of enhance their strengths with what our capabilities of India could do. At that point, we had inherited setups and amazing workforces, but their appetites and skill sets were really focused towards the Asian market. So we had learned a lot, because we are kind of quick learners, as to what at least we were 23 years old. What did we know? In a way, we knew a lot. Why can't we work in a perfect world, go up to these design firms, be the purveyors of all things refined, and enhance their strengths and build their business, and therefore build a healthy design service business where we can actually make good money, give back, and kind of do what we do right, and keep honing the skills of our craftsmen in India. So it was just a simple idea. There wasn't a plan of, it was, this is what I want to do. We've got a year and a half. We had a small family loan, which we were using wisely. And we started from scratch, like everybody does.
Yeah. No, I love that, because you actually took your own skill set and your love for something, that what can we do with what we already have, and it just grew naturally. I love that. And to your point, you actually own a small family-run factory in South Mumbai, where you use imported fabrics from Italy, from Spain, plus the intricate local craftsmen. So tell us more about that, and also why you think that having a factory has been important in your design process.
The thing is that we were very lucky that is kind of, makes us very unique, because we own the supply chain. So
right.
Listen, that pandemic has hit and it's not a robust form, but there's, it's 280 strong in Mumbai, and they are now, most of these skilled artisans are second generation, and most of them have actually been with us 40, because we've been in the business 23 years, and Geeta, my mom-in-law, has been in the business 10, 15 years, 20 years in her game. So Riaz Master, some of these chaps have been with us for, I want to say, over 38, 42 years. So the thing is, where was my thought going? We think it is important to kind of nurture your own supply chain, to build partners who understand the kind of quality and the work that you want to present. We were very fortunate that we were trained by the finest, because of course we had over the course of time developed our rapport with the Americans and the American designers. But when we started working from the Europeans, they were really open-minded about actually sending their technicians, flying their people down, and training our hands with Zuki machines, with the best finest needles, with teaching us about azo-free dyes, about better quality material. So we learned from the finest of finest in terms of how to, hone your skills and do better. So I think what better if you can strengthen your bases, own your own supply chain. It's not easy, trust me, because it's, you've got to kind of keep it balanced between New York office and there. But I think it's a huge asset. It's taken a lot of toil to do that. It's taken 23 years and then some for my career.
Yeah.
So I think it's the big, a big piece of our success.
I love it. And thank you for sharing that, because to your point, it's not just a matter of just setting something up. It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and constant
sweat equity
perseverance, right?
Absolutely. The sweat equity that goes into the toil, you can't put a value on that at all.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you don't often get to see that from the outside world. You just get to see the finished product. You don't know about behind the scenes and what happens.
You see, in this world of fashion, it is so glamorous in terms of what we put out and how we portray, because in the end, it is an aspirational point of view. Absolutely. And people want, but this is a very serious business, in terms of the layers of it, and how you're doing business, and who your partners are, and how you want to scale it. So
absolutely. And it takes a lot of trust as well, I guess, and that builds, and the reputation builds over time. So then fast forward from that experience of yours, Sachin and Babi, your luxury brand, was born in 2009, which you co-founded with Sachin, and you've also served as the brand's creative director since its inception. Now, the luxury label is actually recognized for its elegant occasion dresses, its bridal and ready-to-wear collections, celebrity following that you have as well, and also design partnerships that you just mentioned with high-profile fashion houses in both the couture and ready-to-wear segments. That's amazing. Tell us more about that.
So, our journey was actually started off in the advanced contemporary world, and we evolved into all things occasion, and now we're evolving into, day to evening occasion, just as where we like to be today is very far away from where we started because the landscape of the market has changed.
Right.
But because I thought at that point was like, as amazing as these legacy houses are, even as at a bit of a discount, I don't know if I can afford these goods. I don't know if it makes sense to my lifestyle because I'd like to send my kids to private school. I'd like to, so in a way, I had to make sense of what, and if you have a palate for all things refined, you want to live in those goods. So
Right.
we had the advantage of actually, catering to the urban woman, presenting a beautiful, well-crafted, well-made point of view, which was more value-driven at a sensible price that I could buy it at. Because if it made sense to me, I knew 20 of my girlfriends would be like, yeah, this I can enjoy. Maybe this I can, go indulge and kind of make sense with. So yeah, and that line is evolving now as much as we as luxury and evening, like look at the way people are living today. So evening has taken a bit of a pause, which is fine, it'll come back. So we're evolving into more all things occasion from day to evening that'll actually carry you from day to day because today's lifestyle's changed.
No, absolutely. And you're flexible as well. And you're actually understanding who is your buyer, who's the consumer out there. And I love that. Yeah. And your designs are absolutely beautiful,
Thank you.
So you mentioned obviously, your kids and sending to private school. You do actually have 2 daughters, and you're quite involved in their lives. Would love to hear a little bit about how you balance your days. I mean, walk us through a typical day. Tell us about a day in the life of the luxury designer Babi.
I mean, right now life is very topsy-turvy. So I can tell you the day in my life in a pandemic life, because the girls are still at home online learning.
Right.
And it's like a working WeWorks. Like I have 2, 3 floors, but it's like a working WeWorks at home where older ones. So, you get up in the morning, organize breakfast, take the dog for a walk, or Sachin will take the dog for a walk, organize breakfast, for the kids, get them up, and older one's fine. She gets it. The younger one, she needs a little bit of nudging because she's switched schools, and it's not very interesting. It's so dry to learn online. You're not making friends. You're not talking to people. And then just a quick shower. I try to make time to do my TM, which I must do. I cannot do it twice a day. It's too much of a luxury. I wish I could because, I like to do yoga once in a while. I like to get a blowout once in a while. I mean, how many luxuries can I afford as a working mom, So, and then just get there, breakfast organized, inhale nice, quick yogurt for myself, and then run off to the studio, really. I have a part-time housekeeper who comes out to take care of the dog, the house, this, that, the other. And before you know it, it's in the studio looking at next season, looking at selling of this season, doing the deep dive with my digital team as to what's moving, trying to listen to good music to keep my senses alive to what we should be working on next. Looking at the change of the landscape, arguing a little and not so much, and then getting along again with Sachin. And then usually I dash back and it's dinner. I mean, dinner, prepping dinner, which is, I'm not a good Indian cook and I don't know how to organize myself there. But, just a quick marinade in the oven, and then there's dinner. And just asking the girls how their days were, because you have to be very sensitive about these young minds. I mean, it's just so dry to just... so make sure the younger one's gone out for a run, or on a good day, I'll be like, come on, take your bike and go 20 blocks, bike out a little bit. And maybe a girlfriend will call and I'll catch up. Maybe a dash of wine just to kind of take the edge off in the end of the day. And it doesn't stop really, just because my younger one's executive functioning skills aren't perfected. So making sure she's not super distracted. I'm like, come on, screens off. Just when you're doing work, just do the work, kind of just nudging and softly making sure that's done. And I haven't really seen any fun episodes of late. So I just watched my 1 or 2 favorites of The Crown again, like 2 nights ago. That calms you a little. And and taking Coco out for a walk at night. I mean, it just flies. It flies.
Yeah, and I love that. And because it's such a real life day that we all go through in so many different ways. Whether it's the homeschooling or balancing your work and your home life and just getting it all done. So thank you for sharing that. It just sounds like it's a very active day. And I think certainly for me, I have to have a schedule. You know, if I don't, then the whole day crumbles. And I would imagine for you as well, because you have your meetings with different locations around the world. It's so important to kind of stay on top of everything, and be an involved mum as well.
I know. It just doesn't stop. Yeah, true.
Yeah. Well, you're totally empowering and very inspiring. And at Uma, we are about empowering women and inspiring the next generation, which is exactly what you do. So as an accomplished female entrepreneur, tell us about the incredible work that you are doing to support other entrepreneurial women.
I think, I have the sensibility of I rise, you rise. We have to kind of empower each other in terms of whether it's a motivational quick chat with a girlfriend who's kind of struggling, or we all go through similar journeys of, self-doubts, all of this. It's just, you have to trust your gut. You have to feel that there is a way that you can find whatever your landscape is of your workforce, because most of my dear friends are not in the design field. They are either in finance or in real estate or in different kind of, So it's really just being positive, being a listener, having the rationale of actually, if you know your friends well, or and the female brain, the way it is, I think, it is very highly emotional, very highly intelligent mind. But we get in our own way, sometimes. So it's also kind of, kicking the doubt on the side and saying, all right, this is going to come in time, but you've got to keep the path of, persevere and have the grit and keep learning through experiences and keep going.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I love that approach as well, because you're right, in a way we have so much going on and so much to balance that it's important to structure and compartmentalize these different facets of our immense personality out there. So I love exactly what you shared, and that is actually really inspiring. You also have a new venture born out of the pandemic. Tell us about the Good Cloth Company.
Oh my God, that was really, when we sat still, and it was, I think, the month of April. It was already 30, 40 days, mid-April. It was already 30, 40 days of the pandemic. And me and Sachin we were chatting. We were like, this will pass. We don't know when, but it will pass. But eventually, when things kind of are sane, how will we bring our workforce back? Whether it's in Mumbai, whether it is with our partners in Vietnam, whether it is here. We were 30 strong in New York City, no longer, but hey, it'll come back. How do we kind of figure out a way to make our people, ourselves even, more stronger? Because also we came to realize, Rita, that in this time, the wheels of the economy, who turned? In a way, it was a simple chicken farmer. It was the delivery guy. It was the essential workers. It was people who, they said, these guys really, we were lucky with Amazon deliveries, and listen, business fell off the nose, and fell off the, it kind of fell off the cliff. But we still were thankful that the fridge was stocked. We had a little bit of savings. Yes, it's not fun going through such difficult times. I'm not romancing it at all. It's really horrid. But you have to figure out for the next and the new, what makes sense and how do we do that? So just luck by chance, we were introduced to a Swiss firm, and we tied up a trade and licensing agreement, and we kind of trademarked the name called Good Cloth, because it does have antimicrobial, antiviral properties. So basically, it's a science plus a performance workwear point of view, where we can coat any fabric with this compound, which makes it antimicrobial, and therefore this is not a silver bullet. But it has the properties of protecting the vector, the actual fabric, that can be used as a face mask, as a set of gloves, as a vest, as not an entire uniform if you don't want to redo uniforms, but as a really chic, cloth covering. So it was basically going into the performance workwear space with safety, with sense of responsibility, because you don't want to make stuff and just trash in the bloody landfills. You want to make things that you can throw in the wash 20, 30, 32 times, and the properties are still 99, 96% proof. After the 30th wash, it just whittles down. It doesn't come down to zero. So We are still, I mean, listen, we are in pre-revenue stage right now. We're still having very interesting conversations because it's more of an institutional business. It's not really a B2B.
Right.
Just because of the scale of the business and the way the items should be priced. So it's very interesting because it's finding holes and being smart in terms to who should we talk to, how we find the point of view, and what makes sense for this game to kind of kick in and come alive. So it's very interesting. It's very new, and it's kind of keeps your brain cells kind of, because it's not the same ho hum. It's something new, but yet it is within the wheelhouse of, a garment. So it's, I mean, I don't want to drum it up too much. It's going to go somewhere because it gets lots of people very excited and kind of interested in the conversation. So having that and going, and seeing this actually, blossom into something real.
Yeah, well, I think it's very exciting and it's much needed. And it also shows how flexible you are and how you're just constantly thinking like an entrepreneur. Times are tough. You don't give up. You pivot, you do something different. You think, okay, what is the need? Where are the holes? Exactly like you said. And you've built something out of nothing in such a short amount of time. And when it's the hardest time that we've ever faced. So that's incredible. So thank you so much for sharing that. Really. Before we let you go, what advice would you give to any young girls watching today looking to make the most out of their futures?
Well, honestly, I know people say follow your passion and then it will come. I think you have to have something. Talent is important. I don't disagree, but you've got to be willing to learn. You've got to be willing to keep your ears and eyes open. You've got to also always have that sense of, like, I think I know what I'm talking about. Have that sense of confidence about this is what my point of view is, no matter what your workforce is, what your landscape is. So I think it's just being an open learner, having an intrinsic, trusting a sense of gut as to what your point of view should be, and just enjoying this crazy journey of your life, because it's just, if you're engaged and you're positive and you're always, agile, I think it'll come to you because you're a seeker as a human being anyway. And, for us, you just have to keep your mind alive in terms of be interested, if not, and it's dulling your thing, then find another way of making it interesting, So it's, I mean, sometimes I should follow my own advice, but it's so easy to roll it out. But it's easy, I know, but it's hard to live it because, failure does kind of knock your socks down. But just learn from it. All these things, they're humbling. Failures are very humbling. Trust me, I've had many. And, but the road to success is like very, very messy. The trajectory for most is not just a straight arrow.
No, absolutely. That's very, very well said. I love that. Just keep trying, and failure is actually the roadmap to success. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your incredible and powerful journey with us today, Babi. Babi Ahluwalia, co-founder and creative director of Sachin & Babi, and co-founder of the Good Cloth Company in New York City. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on this empowerment journey today. We want you to embrace the inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.